Hello everybody, my name is Jacob Toronto of ChasingCinema.com. Thank you for tuning into my official YouTube channel where today I'm going to be talking about Sony's presentation that happened today at CinemaCon. First of all, I would like to thank Sony for the awesome little bag they got me, Sony Pictures. You know, they're not trying to bribe me or anything. They also gave us a wonderful, really nice Pixel sweatshirt. But don't worry, that's not going to change my judgment. I'm really going to talk about what happened. Now, each of these companies, 20th Century Fox, Sony, and Warner Brothers, has a presentation where they like to showcase and show clips and trailers of their upcoming films in the next couple of years. We were talking about films up into 2017 and even later, but the majority of the presentation focused on Sony's major change, especially after what happened with the interview. So their major changes in staff and executives. And we also had a lot of filmmakers there. So we looked at a couple films in particular. The first one was The Walk, which I'm going to mess up his name. It follows the real-life tightrope walker, Philippe Petit. I'm probably butchering that name. I was jotting down notes in the dark, but basically it's a new film from Robert Zemeckis called The Walk. Robert Zemeckis, obviously Flight, many other iconic films that you would probably know. He was there. He came out, talked about The Walk and how it's a movie that he wants everyone to see on a major screen. He said something seen on the biggest screen possible is what he said exactly. It's going to be coming out October 2nd. And The Walk is essentially this tightropes. He says he's been working on the film for 10 years, by the way, but it's basically this tightrope walker's dream to walk a tightrope from tower to tower of the old World Trade Center. And it's about the story. There was a documentary film called Man on Wire, which actually follows the story and tells the true story a few years back. I recommend checking it out. A phenomenal documentary. I believe it won Best Documentary at the Academy Awards. But this is Robert Zemeckis, and it stars Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and from what I've seen, it looks awesome. Next, we were joined by director Chris Columbus, who brought us, a lot of films, including this Doubtfire, on his new film Pixels, which I recently mentioned, which stars Adam Sandler and Kevin James and a few other people. That has a lot to do with video games coming to the world through aliens or through some sort of other species and destroying us, such as Pac-Man, Donkey Kong. So it's a lot of that 80s retro arcade stuff. Chris Columbus said that no one's in spandex and it's not based on a board game, and that's exactly why he wanted to do it, which I think he was just kind of taking a shot at what is basically everything in the theater nowadays. Though, I would say this movie does sound kind of similar to Wreck-It Ralph's aim, which was to bring real nostalgia video game fans in, but this movie obviously is on a much bigger scale, and from this time capsule, aliens learned that this is what had somewhat of a misunderstanding and sends a giant Pac-Man down, and so on and so forth. A movie that I'm not really looking forward to see, I'm going to be honest with you, because I think Adam Sandler has really had a downfall as of late. But then again, I did see some really cool special effects, and I am a fan of Chris Columbus, so we're just going to have to wait and see. The next person we talked about was from, I'm going to mispronounce this name too, Genndy Tartakovsky, who directed and I believe wrote and directed Hotel Transylvania, and he came out to talk about Hotel Transylvania 2. If you remember, I was not a fan of Hotel Transylvania 1, so I wasn't too excited about this, but he said he really enjoyed watching people watch the first one. It made him feel like a stand-up comedian, so he decided to continue the story, and that's going to be coming out September 15th. A lot of the footage from that wasn't complete, but from the clips that we were seeing, mind you, we're seeing clips of all these films that they're talking about, and I have no excitement for it. From what I saw, it looks just like the first, really kind of things that aren't too engaging, nothing really on the par. I know we were talking a lot about Sony Animations and trying to make them a much bigger competitor, but I have not seen anything too promising from them just yet. But we'll just have to see on that film. We also had the producer and director, Neil Moritz and Rob Letterman, for Goosebumps, this new family thriller that follows Jack Black, who plays R.L. Stein, and these kids open up some of his books, and the monsters and creatures comes out. So he said, we're talking a lot about nostalgia and people enjoying the film because they're older and read these books, and younger kids because it's so much fun. We saw the clip, and to be honest, I wasn't really wowed. The first thing I kept thinking, to be honestly, was where is, I forget the name of the dummy, I'm not sure, but the dummy, the doll that comes alive, the iconic Goosebumps doll. I did not see him in the trailer, so I don't know if they were holding him out and maybe gonna tease him at the end, because they were talking about doing multiple Goosebumps movie already. So I'm not sure, but there was a Yeti, there was a giant grasshopper, and a few other cool things. Something I'm not too crazy about, but I think that I obviously we're going to see it, but hopefully the movie does the original series justice. Like they said multiple times, sold over 400 million copies, so that's a lot. So if that amount of people went and saw the movie, they'd do very well. We also saw trailers and clips from films such as Aloha, The Fifth Wave, Concussion, Xmas, a bunch of films that, again, nothing really wowed me. We also saw little tidbits of Equalizer 2, Uncharted, and Passengers. And again, nothing really super wowed me, but there are some films that intrigued me. There was a new one, which I believe it's Ricky and the Flash, and that is a Meryl Streep film where she's a rock star, finds out her daughter, who's actually played by Meryl Streep's daughter, his husband has left her, and it's her kind of reconnecting with her daughter, which looks pretty interesting. Aloha has Bradley Cooper in it, and Alec Baldwin looks somewhat interesting. The Perfect Guy looked kind of like a thriller, fatal and attraction type stuff. So many movies. I'm sure you could look them up and kind of find the basic things. We saw clips of these movies, but again, nothing too exciting. Then Tom Rothman came out, who's the chair of the Motion Picture Group, the new chair of the Motion Picture Group, and this is the major statement I think that he made, was that we more than survived, we thrived. After talking about a lot of people thinking Sony wasn't going to do well post Spider-Man failure, post the interview failure, and things like that. And it looks like they have a pretty good slate coming out. But again, nothing that too wowed me, and that led them to the last part of the interview, where we showed a clip of Spectre, the new James Bond film, which did look intriguing and did look exciting, though I wasn't out of my seat. I can't talk about the clip very much for certain reasons. It did have some spoilers in it, so I won't get into that. But then this chairman dropped the bomb on us. He had a exclusive CinemaCon announcement, which I talk about in another video. So thank you, Sony, for having a great time. That's what happened today. Thank you for the bag and the sweatshirt. Let me know what you think. If there's any movies that you saw that I talked about or that's coming out from Sony, write in the comment box. Let's talk about Sony. Do you think they've really thrived? Do you think that it's smart to see what's going on? They've already talked about making the upcoming Spider-Man film. I heard a couple groans in the theater about that, but check out what he had to say. Check out the surprise, which is in another video, and that's why you should hit subscribe, because every time there's a new update or news thing going on, I'm constantly updating on you on it. So subscribe here, like for support, follow me and Chasing Cinema's social media contacts all in the description box below. Comment on what movie interests you the most. I'm sure you could do some research. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. I'm Jacob Toronto. Please continue chasing cinema.